We are delighted to now hear from Professor Madan Thangavelu, genome biologist in Cambridge and General Secretary and Research Director of the European Ayurveda Association. His work spans cancer genomics, and he pioneered the groundbreaking molecular copy counting technique. He also serves on international Ayurveda boards and is recognized for bridging genomics with traditional approaches to health. Professor Thangavelu, please begin.
Oh, thank you very much for having me here. Thomas, thank you. Now, I thought I'd take a slightly different approach to this in terms of looking at where the traditional systems will be in 70 years or 80 years' time, and what needs to be done, and where can we see parallels between modern medicine or modern systems as we know it and the ancient systems. So hence the title of my talk, Preparing for the 22nd Century. And we will be visioning holistic health and well-being, which goes beyond traditions, the wisdom traditions, and the best of contemporary biology. So trying to understand how we can bridge these two areas. Now, all of this revolves around the establishment of this World Health Center for Traditional Complementary Medicine. And shown on the screen there is the second, the preparations for the second World Health, the assembly of the traditional medicine people. And it'll be held in New Delhi in December, later this year. And the Ministry of Ayush has signed a memorandum of understanding with the WHO to host the second World Health Summit. This summit brings together practitioners of this system from different parts of the world. And the first summit was held again in India, but in the state of Gujarat, in Gandhinagar. What came out of the first convention, the first summit, was the challenge of bringing systems of medicine together. And it was a big collection of people who came together. And what was clear is that there were many gaps in the systems of medicine. And you need to reformulate health as a very interesting concept, which is an emergence from everything without, everything that is outside. So health needs to be visualized as a creation of something which is a sum total of everything that is outside the human form. Now, the traditional practitioners, the WHO decided, would be grouped according to the WHO regions that we have, which is Africa, America, the Mediterranean, Eastern or Europe, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific regions of the WHO. So this is WHO structure. And in the Global Health center, you would have equal representation from the 6 regions, and from within those regions, you would have their recommended modalities. So in Africa, you would have African traditional medicine. In America, you have osteopathy and chiropractic. And Eastern Mediterranean region, the traditional Arabic and Islamic medicine, and so on. In Europe, there is naturopathy and homeopathy, which comes in the WHO Europe region. Chinese medicine comes under the West Pacific region. Southeast Asia has yoga, Ayurveda, Unani, and Thai medicine. So this is the structure that is envisaged. Now, if we take Ayurveda as an example, as one of the areas, the question is the timeless wisdom of Ayurveda, is it ready for this scale-up that we want to see? Is it ready? This could be said for any of the other systems of medicine, but Ayurveda clearly is one of the most developed areas. And shown here in the background is the systems Ayurveda concept, how the different elements of Ayurveda come together to give rise to the system of Ayurveda. And the most important thing here, it shows how health comes together from everything external, without. So that is a very important concept in Ayurveda. Now, how does this relate to physiology and pathophysiology? So many of the talks that we heard discuss pathophysiology. How does it relate to physiology? And the way that things are understood today is a kind of a distinct difference that we have between health and disease. So health would involve bits on the side here on physiology, and disease would involve all of those on the right-hand side, as shown here. Now, this is too restrictive in its in the way it is appreciated. We need to go back. We need to go back in 2 ways. We need to go back in time, and we need to go back in the process of disease generation. And so, shown in this slide, on the bottom of the image, you have 2 concepts, the health and disease, that are 2 sitting kind of very close together. They are understood as one or the other. And if you expand it a little further up to the top, you can start to appreciate better how the whole scheme of things work. And for convenience sake, I have presented here 3 aspects of the disease spectrum, as I call it, health disease spectrum. Health promotion, which is between health and disease, and health maintenance, disease prevention, and of course, cure. So right now, all of traditional medicine, or all of the medical systems, look at evolving cures that sit on one side of this spectrum, the curative side of the spectrum, while the aspects of disease prevention and physiology sits somewhere on the other side, and there are very few descriptors for what is there between health and disease. Now, when you do this kind of a scheme, when you expand things, you will see physiology, which is the left side of the image. It spans those three pillars of health promotion, maintenance, and disease prevention. So these things become very clear. And the pathophysiology is to do with overlap between health maintenance, disease prevention, and approximately that area. So you've expanded the spectrum of health, and you can see where pathophysiology or physiology of the disease starts to appear in the system. Now, to look at this, I've drawn on a paper which was published about 10 years ago from Cambridge by John Todd, the senior author on this paper, and his co-workers. This study was aimed at looking at disease processes, particularly type 1 diabetes in individuals. And they knew that type 1 diabetes, as a preponderance, it was a seasonal disease. The cases that they saw were predominantly towards the winter months. And there were less cases of type 1 diabetes in the summer months. Now, this is a very interesting observation. And so they decided to take blood samples, the immune part of the accessible immune part of the system, and take blood samples across the ear, shown up here on the graph, months from January to December, and analyze those blood samples for about 4,000 protein coding genes. And what they found was something quite striking. The external factors had a profound effect on the expression of genes. And you will see they either increase or decrease with the seasons. Now, this was a very interesting observation. What they also, in brief, what they found was the immune system had a profound pro-inflammatory profile across the winter months, which was quite an important observation. And if you then looked at some of the major genes involved, they found 9 of the 16 clock genes. These are genes that are involved in, expression in every cell of in every cell of the organism, that 9 of the 16 clock genes were expressed differentially across the seasons. And they found that these were not only seen in blood cells, but they were also the expression were profiled in adipose tissue. And these varied with the seasons. The expression in adipose tissue, the fat tissue of your body, also changed with time. Now, to bring about bring out the concept of some of the Ayurvedic thinking and the Vedic concepts. I've zoomed in on one image there, and I have tried to overlay the Vedic calendar. Now, the Vedic calendar is divided into 6 seasons and 2 parts of the year. Now, as shown here, the 6 seasons are Vasant, Grishma, Varsha, Sharad, Hemant, and Shishir, approximately equating to spring, summer, monsoon, autumn, pre-winter, and winter. And clearly, these are the 6 seasons. And this is based on dividing the year across the 2 halves based on the movement of the sun. The zodiac movements from Sagittarius to Capricorn, which is season demarcated by Makar, and it's called Makar Sankranti, or in Sanskrit, Uttarayana. It's the seasons where your bala, where your strength is meant to decrease, and similarly the Karak Sankranti, which is where the opposite happens. Now, when you take that image that we have on the left-hand side, and we overlay the seasons onto that map, you will see the most striking effects. You will see all the seasons are mappable on this independent descriptor. So everything that we see that was described in the Ayurvedic, Vedic knowledge systems is perfectly imposable on the Ayurvedic system. And what is also interesting is this text from one of the Ayurveda documents, Charaka Samhita, that talks about how you should prepare your body for the different seasons. Now, this is very interesting in that the body is behaving in a manner similar to how the seasons, the change of the seasons. And it is said there that you have to go through certain purification steps in the body. And those are described. These are standard protocols that the clinician uses for preparing your body for the Ayurvedic seasons. Now, these are the 4 genes that are shown there on the top. There are many, many more genes, clearly 4,000 odd genes that they analyzed, and a better description of how the processes work and how things come about in the body will come from fine analysis of some of the later genes. Now, the example that is shown here is of a physiologist in Oxford, Dennis Noble, who's worked a lot on aspects of human physiology, and especially the heart system. He was professor of cardiovascular physiology in Oxford. And he talks about complex systems. And he has given us an idea in terms of the 10 rules for complex systems that are there in the human body. Here he says that there are many more to be discovered. A genuine theory of biology does not yet exist. So he's making a forward-looking statement here out of the 10 proposed rules of complex systems. Now, ancient systems have talked about how the human body behaves in health and disease. And here is a statement made by one of our Regius professors of physics in Cambridge, a statement that was made very, very early on, between 1892 and 1925, says medicine was now to prove her lineage as the mother of natural science and the truth of the sayings of Hippocrates. To know the nature of man, one must know the nature of all things. And I hope I've conveyed a feeling for this, how the systems of, how in complex systems, we need to understand the outside, the externalities. And this actually is what Ayurveda is all about, and that is what most systems of medicine would be. Ancient systems or the traditional systems, and it has been proposed earlier on, and more recently in 2009, there was a convention in Italy where we discussed the nature of reality. And the nature of reality is too complex to be reduced to a single formula in general. So whatever we talk about in terms of complex systems, we will arrive at a way in which you have to start to think about systems, start to think about how we can appreciate complex systems, but using different systems of philosophy. And this is a very important aspect of that will continue to play out in the years to come. Some of this was discussed at a meeting in 2019 at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi. Next generation physiology for a healthy lifestyle, that was the main theme. And we were talking about setting up a collaboration between these institutes shown here, the Medical University of Graz and European Ayurveda Association and the INSERM, etc. Now, you can see there is a futuristic element to this. It'll be a while before this matures into something tangible. But there is work going on, and it'll be a while before things start to take shape. Now, in all of this, Ayurveda and Ayush communication, how you communicate deep science to the common man. This is a big challenge for all of us. Now, this is best presented by Wolfgang Wagner, who says that the public discourse about science is more than, and at the same time, less than a stripped-down version of the original. There is a difficulty in conveying science to the common man. this difficulty is can be envisioned to be similar to the similarity between a piece of meat and hamburger. That vernacular language resembles science knowledge as much as a hamburger resembles original fillet. And this tension between science, deep science, and communicating it to the common man will be one that we'll have to grapple with. And I hope I've conveyed in this small talk the way in which I hope we will see the future happen over the 50 or 60 years to come. Thank you.
Professor Thangavelu, thank you for your expertise. Thank you for sharing the important news with us and maybe presenting the horizons of future healthcare. Thank you very much.